Hi, and welcome to Q's Workshop. Today I'm kicking off a small Sunday project. So a little while ago one of my friends asked me where do I purchase my aluminium, because he's just looking for a couple of small pieces to make a Nitro Engine Mount. So a Nitro Engine Mount, I'll pop it up in the corner. Essentially it's to hold a Nitro engine after you've cleaned it and serviced it. So while you're testing, outside of the model aeroplane, while you're testing it, you've got something to hold it. So what I told him is I've got actually some aluminium at home. You've seen this piece already. I used it on the fly cutter video to see how nicely it cleans. So I've got this piece, and it's almost the right size to what he was looking for. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut a couple of pieces off of this, clean it up nicely, drill the holes through, and give that to him. Right, well, let's hop into it. First going to go over to the bandsaw to cut this up into smaller pieces to work with, and then we'll be over to the mill to start cleaning it up. Alright, this side's cleaned up nicely. I'm just going to flip it over and clean the other side. Right, that's done. So now it's just going to make 2 slots, one on either side along the top. So essentially just make a long slot here and a long slot there that the aluminium pieces are going to ride in. Okay, that's the slot in one side. So I'm just going to clean off this burr quickly, and then we'll get it back in to do the hole on this side. Okay, I've got it back in, the other side's cleaned up. I've got the DRO set, so I've just made some lines just to give myself an indication of where I'm going to start and stop, but I've got the DRO on, so I'm going to make the slot length exactly the same as what I did on the other side. Alright, that's it. So last up for this piece is just some mounting holes. So it'll stand like that on a bench. So I'm just going to put 2 holes on each side all the way through. So smaller holes on this side, bigger holes on this side that a screwdriver can fit in, just to screw it down to the bench if screws are going to be used for it. I don't know how it's going to get fastened down. Might even just have a little clamp on the side, but if it does get fastened down, I'll just make little holes for screws. And that's it for this piece. So then we get onto the aluminium blocks. that side's done. That left a really good finish on it. Okay, so now, like usual of squaring up stock, I'm going to put the clean face that I've just done up against the back, and then we're going to clean up this top edge over here. Once that's cleaned up, then we will be cleaning up the other side of the flat, the large flat edge, and then we'll bring it down to the 15 millimeters thickness. Alright, so I'm just going to get these upright quickly and then I'll bring you back. Alright, so let's clean up this top edge and then we turn it over. Alright, that top piece is done now. Okay, so this back end of this piece here should now be a perfect right angle in theory, if my machine is trammed properly. So this corner will now sit, this back end will sit on the fixed jaw of the vise. The piece that I cut just now will go onto the parallels, and that gives us access to this front face now on the top to clean up. And that's also where I'll be bringing it down to diameter, to the correct width, sorry. So at the moment we're sitting on just over 16, so 16.25, and yeah, 16.25 or 28. So at least it's not a lot that has to get taken off. So I'll get that turned, and then I'll bring you back. Right, they mounted up. So based on my measurements, it's just over 1 millimeter that has to get taken off, so 1.2 something that needs to be taken off. I'm not too worried about hitting 15 millimeters exactly. So I'm just going to clean up this top edge now, and so I'll take a very light skim pass on the top, zero the DRO. I'll measure it again after the skim pass, and then zero the DRO, and I know how much I have to go down. something very strange happened. I think I was taking too deep a cut because when I looked at so I looked at the DRO, I loosened the x-axis, so the quill, I moved it down a little bit, and then I started cutting, and I don't know if it was just the vibration or if I was taking too deep a cut, which it looked like I was. I just didn't want to stop. I was just going to go and take that whole piece off. But my whole head stock of the mill came loose, and it was actually moving. So as I was moving the table of the mill, the whole headstock was moving sideways, pulling the actual quill to the right, and that made me cut quite deep into the one piece of the work. The way that it was pulling, because as that happened, the actual head also moved down a little bit, because I saw the hand crank that lifts the head. I actually saw that move, which is why I stopped. As soon as I noticed that, I stopped, and then I also saw, but the head was busy moving. So let's check. What did we get here? This is now the wrong way around, but let's just see what we got. So that's 15, and we're on 10, so it's 15.1 millimeters. That's perfect for what I want to, or at least for the purpose of this. So I'm going to leave it there. Then it's just this last edge and the sides that needs to be cleaned up. And then it's to put the holes through. So I'm still deciding, am I going to put the holes through while it's still two big blocks, or after I trimmed it into smaller squares. So I need to cut each of these into 3 pieces, so it's 2 small and then 1 big piece. So I've still got to decide when am I going to drill the holes, but let's get into that. Okay, it's just this top part now, and then the sides that needs to be squared up once I'm done. Once that's finished, then it's ultimately to decide the holes and actually slicing them. But let me get this cleaned up first. Okay, there's a tiny bit on that corner. I think that was due to... so that was the edge of the big block. So the block probably fell and it nicked that corner, that's always been there. So I'm just going to have to take another little bit off just to get that nick out of that corner there. it's done. It's just got some pieces stuck to it. Right. Just need to clean those two once I've taken this side once I've taken it out. Looks good. There we go. I wasn't too bothered about the size of the block at this stage. Remember, I'm gonna cut this into 3 pieces, and then I'm gonna have to clean up those. The edges of those pieces that I cut off anyway, so I'll just kind of try and leave on as much as possible until I get to that point. I'm going to stack these on top of each other. I'm not too worried about it doesn't have to be perfectly square to start off with, so I'm just going to stack them to clean up the two sides. As long as they both get held in properly, I'm happy with it. Help keep that in properly. I'll just stick a piece of copper in just to keep them mostly aligned. There we go. Okay, that's held in pretty good. Just gonna get a end mill in, and then we'll start cutting. just this one side, I needed to do just an extra pass to clean up that one side. So let's get this out. Just clean up around here that we don't have pieces falling in. So I literally just want to pull it up and flip it over while they together, because I want to keep them level with one another. Okay. That bottom one has a little bit more to take off. It's got like a little ridge over there. Alright, that's it. Last side done. So I'm just going to clean up the burrs on these edges a little bit and start thinking about, am I going to drill it or am I going to cut it first? And I'll be back. Alright, so I've just cleaned up the edges, the burrs along these sides where I cleaned up last. Just cleaned that up, and I decided I'm going to cut these into the smaller pieces before drilling the holes. And the reason for that is I remembered the one portion of it, so that one side actually has to be threaded. So that's going to be where the screws go in, so you would actually screw it down and it will hold the Nitro engine. So I'm first going to cut them up and then I'll drill a hole through them, and the one piece I'll drill smaller so that I can tap it. The only problem that I have now is I was going to use my slitting disc to actually cut them, but I only realized now the arbor that I've got for it is from my M2 mill, so the mill that I used to have. So the arbor is not going to work in here, so I can't actually cut these down in the machine. So I'm either going to have to hold these small pieces in the bandsaw somehow, which is a bit difficult because of the way that the vise on the bandsaw works. It only allows for pieces that hang over pretty far, and the way that this will get clamped in the vise, it can't hang over far enough. So I'm going to have to look at either just cutting these by hand or waiting for a MT3 arbor for the slitting disc. Alright, so while I figure that out, I'll bring you back once I've got these cut into smaller pieces. Alright, I'm back. I made a little jig for the bandsaw So I just cut these up in the bandsaw. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to clean up the edges, make sure that all 4 of those comes out to, I'm looking at about 7 millimeters thick. I'm not that bothered if it's a little bit more. Those are just target measurements. So about 7-8 millimeters. I did cut it a little bit thicker, so I cut them just under 10. I marked them on 10, but with the bandsaw it cuts a little bit smaller because of the blade. So I'm gonna just clean up the top. As I said, anywhere between anything bigger than 7 millimeters would be fine, and then I'll clean these up. These are going to be about probably just over 25 millimeters each. Right, well, let's get those cleaned up, and then we'll come back on the others. Okay. Let's see. What we got. Okay, we got 968 about. It's just under 10. That's fine with me. I think we can maybe just take it down a little bit more. One of the things that I still need to consider is one of these, like this, actually goes into the slot over here, so it has to be thin enough to fit into the slot. So I think I'm just going to take these down a little bit more, just that it can fit in there. Those slots is made just an oversized 8mm. I've also used the 8mm end mill to cut them, and then I just widened the hole slightly. So I'm going to make these, I'll have to make these just a little bit smaller to fit in there. So let's just give it another once over. Just take down another small bit. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's give it another check. Should we hit? Alright, so we're just under 8 millimeters, which is what we were looking for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zero the DRO. So now I know that's the height that I'm looking for on these two as well. So I'm just going to take these out, pop the other two in, and finish them off. Then we'll be onto the big blocks. Right, that's the last two done. Let's see where we ended with these. I was looking for just over 25. Well, I was happy for it to be 25, but I knew I was going to overshoot it. And we got 27.18. So let's go with 27. That's not bad. Get these edges cleaned up. So now it's just the hole drilling and the tapping of the one. I'll bring the whole thing closer now. Okay. So that's what it looks like. So we've got the two at the bottom, so they can slide depending on the little engine size. They will be able to slide. This is the spacer that sits above it, because the engine hangs over here and it's got two little, just bring it this way, it's got two little tabs on the side of the engine that will sit on, it will rest on here. And okay, I'm back. I ran out of battery power while explaining this. Alright, so the bottom piece gets mounted to a workbench or clamp down. We've got the bottom pieces, the ones that I had made a little bit thinner than the top ones. So they will get threaded. So they sit in there like that, so they can ride in here depending on the size of the little Nitro engine. Then we've got the bigger blocks that are actually the spacer for the engine. So if need be, these can get made bigger. Depending, the motor actually sits, it's got two little tabs on either side of the motor that will rest on here, and then it hangs in between. And then these are the clamps that goes on top of that little tab that sits on the side of the engine. So there's going to be two holes on either side of this that goes all the way through, that can get fastened down onto the bottom one. I'm still deciding how that's going to work, because I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, although I'm threading the bottom to put a long screw in, so I'll actually screw it into the bottom one so that it stays there, and then just get one of those butterfly nuts that you screw by hand from the top. Otherwise it's just going to be a little bit difficult if you're going to have a screwdriver or Allen key to fasten this top one down. Maybe just a nice butterfly nut on the top with the screw actually screwed into the bottom one, and it will actually remain in place because the bottom one is threaded. If not, if I can't get the butterfly screws, then it's just a long Allen key screw that I'll get that will just go straight through and will just thread into the bottom space, into this bottom piece. And that's it, that's the concept. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill these out quickly. This one drill a bit smaller and tap it. Alright, so I got the first piece in. I put the end stop on, because it's just going to make it easier. So I've marked off where I want the hole on the first one. I've lined up the drill. I'm not worrying about it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be close to the center, or it has to be on the center line, which it is. That I'm happy about. But from the end, I've measured on this piece 7 millimeters from the side. The drill lines up on that, so I'm going to drill that one, turn it over, drill, so with the end stop I get it the same distance from the side. Then I can just pop them all in and drill them out. Okay, I just need to clean up the burr of the hole, so I don't want to. I'm just going to make it stand skew if I leave it there. So that one's cleaned up. That's cleaned up. Right, so now it's just popping it in against the end stop and drilling the next one. Okay, so this one I cut a little slower because I didn't want it to scared that the drill is going to wander a bit. pretty good. Trellis are really clogging up. Okay. I'll just do the other one the same as this. Right, so I've got one of the bottom pieces in that's got to get threaded. So I'm going to be tapping this M5. So I'm first going to drill them all out, and then I'll tap them. Okay, just going to bring it this way. Okay, I've got just a little tap wrench. Unfortunately, there's no hole in the back of the tap wrench that I can use the quill to steady it, so I just got to go in and try and get it to bite slowly. Sorry, I just had to move the camera, but it was in the way and I couldn't get a grip on the ratchet. I couldn't push the ratchet down properly to actually get it to take. I also changed the actual tap. So I was using a M5 tap that I actually got with a little ratchet. So here it is, but this thing's awful. It's not cutting properly at all. I just changed it to this one, and it's zooted straight through, no problems. Those. There we go. Next one. Oil for it. I think the other one, these little notches in it aren't deep enough to evacuate the cuttings properly. So I had to go forward, reverse the whole time with it, and it was really hard to get it to take. I was worried that the tap was going to break off. There it is. Okay, another one down. There we go. Just going to do the other one quickly, and I'll show you the end product. Alright, so that's the finished piece. I've drilled some holes in the bottom and in the top. So through the bottom is just to fasten with some screws into a workbench. The top is just for a screwdriver to get through. These are loose, and it scales for the different size nitro engines, so it moves. And the same with the middle size here. So I went with a bigger size for the spacer here to allow for quite a large nitro engine that could sit here in the middle. So what happens is these loosen up like that. The mounting point of the engine sitting here and on this side, so then it hangs here in the middle and it gets clamped down, and as you clamp these down, it clamps down onto the mounting bracket as well, and then it will hold it in place while you give it a test run. Alright, well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.